Nagsalita na si President Bongbong Marcos sa issue ni Maria Ressa at ang kanyang kumpanya na Rappler. Pero bago ang lahat, kung hindi ka pa nakakapag-subscribe sa aking channel, please do subscribe at click the notification bell, para mas lagi kang updated sa mga ilalabas kong mga videos. According sa Amerika, ginigipit daw ng gobyerno ni President Bongbong Marcos ang mga media na kumontra sa gobyerno tulad ni Maria Ressa at Rappler. Agad namang sumagot si President Bongbong Marcos, talaga namang kontra ang Rappler sa gobyerno noon pa sa panahon ni President Duterte, pero hindi iyon ang dahilan sa pagkakulong ni Maria Ressa, meron siyang nilabag na batas. Kaya naman napareact ang mga netizens online sa issue. Rappler at mga dilawan dapat ipapakulong, mga salot ng lipunan para hindi pamarisan. Yang mga kalaban ng gobyerno kung sa ibang bansa pa yan, tulad sa Middle East or North Korea, patay na mga yan.
But on domestic politics, and I always head in this direction with all of our guests. Had the Chinese Foreign Minister here yesterday. Under President Duterte, there were concerns raised about human rights in the Philippines, and particularly in his drugs campaign. Some questions today about legal actions against your Nobel laureate, Maria Ressa. And then even the State Department report, annual report, refers to several hundred continued political prisoners. So your reflections, I noticed what you said before about unifying all Filipinos. Could you give us your reflections on the future of human rights in the Philippines?
Well, the argument, or rather the discussion about human rights in the Philippines in the past few years has really derived from the anti-drug war that President Duterte undertook. And as I come into office, you look and you see we cannot stop the drug war. The problem continues to exist. What we can do is to examine and learn lessons from the experience from the past administration, and to go into a little more detail. I think we have found, it is certainly my view, that enforcement, which has been the part of the drug war that has been most vigorously pursued by President Duterte, only gets you so far. And my approach is slightly different. And we look at the drug problem in the Philippines, and it is a significant one. There are approximately, I suppose, according to official statistics, close to 4.5 million actual addicts in the Philippines, and that the corrosive effect of on society, on criminality, on the drug syndicates, etc. Even the politicization of the whole drug syndicates and their networks is something that we still have to deal with. And so perhaps we should look at it. We should look, instead of just enforcement, which will continue, but in a more focused way. I tell when I first came to my first command conference with our policemen, and I said, we will adjust. Let us adjust our focus, and let us also look at prevention. Let us education to our young people, to say that this is a dead end. This will get you absolutely nowhere. It will get you put in jail. It will get you killed. And even if it does not do that, this will take away your future. And second part of that is cure. To be more sensitive and more sympathetic to those who actually have gotten caught up in this lifestyle. And so that is something that we are now promoting. We are trying to learn which are the best methods now to pull our victims, really is what they are, pull them out of that culture and to help them start again and to live a good life as good and constructive members and contributing members of society. Now, as to the enforcement, to put it very bluntly, I simply told them, look, I'm not interested in the kid who makes 100 pesos a week selling weed. That's not the person that I want you to go after. I want you to go after people who, if we get them, if we neutralize them, we put them in jail, we put them away, whatever it is, will make an actual difference, so that the supply of drugs, the system of distribution, the system of importation of drugs, because much of it really does come from abroad, that will actually make a difference. It will put a stop to it. And that's what we are working on right now. So those are the different elements of those three elements of the anti-drug effort of this government. Though those are, the focus has certainly changed, and even the methodology has changed.
Well, thank you for that. There was the Nobel laureate Maria Ressa. I know there's some sort of legal case involving her at the moment. What are the prospects there? Is it caught up in your courts, or is it that's because she's a Nobel Prize winner? There is international preoccupation with her case as well.
Well, really what happened with Maria Ressa and Rappler is that it was determined that it is a foreign enterprise, and that's not allowed in our rules, in our law. And her situation right now is that it has nothing to do with her political leanings. What has happened is that an individual has filed cyber libel cases against her, and that's what she's facing now. So that is the situation with Maria Ressa. Rappler actually continues to operate. You can look them up on the internet. They make their comments and make their posts, and they continue to operate in that way. However, she herself personally is facing, I believe it's 2 cyber libel cases, and we just we have a very clear delineation of powers in our political system, very much styled after the American system, where we have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, and they're co-equal. And so it is highly improper for the executive to interfere in either the legislature or the judiciary.
So the end of UN week here in New York, you've had a bucket load of meetings. Have you had some fun?
Well, being in New York is always fun. I haven't been. I haven't been in New York for a good long time, actually. Just for whatever reason, it's been. I think we were calculating it with my wife Lisa, who is here. We were calculating, what, 22 years since we came back to New York?
Put your hands together for the First Lady of the Philippines.
It's been 22 years. She practiced law here for many years. And so she's really part of that song. She's a native New Yorker. And we missed it. We missed it terribly. I spent a good deal of time as well in New York, perhaps not as a permanent resident or working here, but simply because I learned to enjoy and really have great affection for the city and its people. And we missed it terribly, and we were very happy to be given the chance to come back. But I would say that she has had a better opportunity to have some fun in New York. I have tried very hard to maximize every single hour that I've been here to make these contacts, and as you described them, I have a bucket load of meetings, which I think have gone rather well. But as I said, it's not. It doesn't take much just to be able to look out my window and to see New York, the Central Park, to see New York at night, to walk along the street, to get my sabrette and my souvlaki sandwich. Go to Katz, have a pastrami on rye.
Did you go to Essa Bagels to get your bagels?
And I'm a happy camper. Doesn't take
Well,
much.
Yeah. Well, I have much the same sentiment about this town. For a small town, it's not bad. Mr. President, as you said, UN General Assembly Week, I always found to be a bit like speed dating for heads of government. In the door, out the door, in the door, out the door. You are such a welcome guest here at the Asia Society.
Anyone, the Philippines has some of these conflicts with the People's Republic of China, and the position that the Philippines takes is that we have no territorial conflict with China. What we have are China claiming territory that belongs to the Philippines. So this is the position we take, and with our American partners, we have promoted that position. We have also made it very clear to our friends in Beijing that this is the way we feel about it. And as a consequence of this challenge that we have, this diplomatic, this territorial challenge that we have, I'd like to point out that this is the first national election in the Philippines where foreign policy was an issue with the people. Generally speaking, in our experience, the foreign policy, the ordinary citizen, the ordinary voter, would say, well, foreign policy is not really our concern. Let the experts in government decide that. But when it happens that our fishermen are not allowed to continue with their livelihood, to fish in areas where they have fished for the last 30, 40 generations, then it becomes an issue right at the gut of our people. And that is where we find ourselves now.
I listened carefully to what you said in your remarks about the West Philippine Sea. And your recent stated position of the government in terms of the Permanent Court of Arbitration decision in 2016. So, given China's posture, which is in recent times usually not through grey-coloured vessels, that's warships, but through ships of other colours, sometimes Coast Guard vessels, and sometimes fishing fleets, and sometimes fishing fleets comprised of hundreds of vessels very close together. Looking ahead for the next couple of years, what would you ask our Chinese friends to do differently?
Well, what we have tried, I mean, in my view, it is nobody wants to go to war. The one thing we need to avoid is a shooting war. And I have always said that the fundamental principle that guides our foreign policy is peace. We talk about the economy. We say that we are in crisis. There are many things that we need to do. We have good plans for it. We are very optimistic about the future. But all of these things will be for naught if there is conflict in the region. Australia is certainly a strong partner in all of these actuations that we have been trying to endorse. In the case of the Philippines, it's clear that militarily there is no comparison between the Philippines and China in terms of capability, in terms of strength, military strength, should it come to that. However, we believe that the strength that we can apply will be from the partnerships, once again, that we have with countries like Australia, with our ASEAN members, with the rest of our friends and allies in the region. And that's why I think that ASEAN is going to have to play a stronger role in all of these in all of these discussions, and in trying to, again, keep the peace and slowly, but continue to engage China. Because once that engagement stops, then there is no progress. And then things could very easily deteriorate, and that is not what we want to happen. So we have tried, on a bilateral basis with China, although we maintain our position in terms of our maritime territories and our fishing rights, our economic zones, we have nonetheless tried to continue to engage China on that basis, on those subjects, but also engage China on other aspects, the people-to-people relationships, even the economic relationships that we have fostered with China, even some of the other exchanges that we have had in terms of education, in terms of cultural exchanges, in terms of all of the other things. I have always told my Chinese friends, and I said, let us not make our differences concerning maritime, like the baselines, the economic zones, etc. Let us not make that the defining element of our relationship. Because if that is the only defining if that will be the defining relationship of the defining part of our relationship, then we are really at a standstill. And hopefully, if we make progress in other areas, this will help. I always quote that the way that the United States, for example, and China came together was through ping pong. If you remember, it was because the Chinese ping pong captain played with the United States ping pong captain, and they became friends, and ping pong went to the United States. And this led to Richard Nixon going to China and establishing diplomatic relations. So perhaps that's something. So we must explore everything. We must explore every avenue. We do it G2G, government to government.
Basketball? Could we do basketball?
Basketball could be could be another. But in any single way, we never know. You never know where the progress will come. So you have to try everything. You cannot discount anything and limit yourself to just the traditional ways of negotiating, the traditional ways of dealing with this kind of problem. We have to be, to an extent, I would say that we have been successful, and that we have slowly begun to redefine, or rather, no, not redefine, but to add to that relationship in other aspects of diplomatic life, of political life within the region. And I think that has happened because of, again, the strong partnerships that we have with the other countries, our allies around the region. And that way, that united front that we can present, I think is a very, very important aspect of that engagement.
In your speech before, you also made positive reference to the Quad and AUKUS, and that follows, I think, from the logic you've just explained about those beyond the Philippines on whom you can rely for security policy support. Your reflections on how the Quad, for example, aids to strategic stability in the region, that would be of interest, I'm sure, to this audience. And within that, your view and vision of your future relationship with Japan.
Well, the Quad certainly is another one of those agrupations that we feel are going to be. It's a partnership between countries that I think, again, if we were to move as one country alone, it would not be as effective as if we approach the problem as part of these political, diplomatic agrupations, even military agrupations that we have put together. So that's again something that is fundamental to the way we try to approach the problems that we are facing vis-a-vis the maritime disputes that we have. I have to remind people that these maritime disputes are not only with China. We also have within ASEAN some disputes with our other member countries. So, but in my view, this applies as well. So these kinds of partnerships, I think, are very, very important. Now, Japan, certainly, I had a meeting with the Prime Minister Kishida, just the other day, and naturally, I think it's no surprise to anyone that they are terribly, terribly concerned, not only of China, but because of the recent events, we have focused on the Taiwan situation, the visit of the United States House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, sort of highlighted once again the simmering tensions that, as I said, were beneath the surface but now have surfaced out into the open. But if you remember, if we go back maybe 6 months, it was North Korea that we were all very worried about. And it is exactly that, that I think that aspect of it that Japan is also worried about, because when you have missiles flying over in your skies and into the sea, it's not very surprising that Japan will be alarmed. And again, that is part of the relationship that we have between ally countries. Japan is an ally. Japan is a friend and a partner in many, many ways again. And that again, we feel that we should strengthen that and continue to promote that partnership. The difference between right now, anyway, between the conflicts or the disagreements between China and the rest of the countries around the area and Korea is Korea has threatened to use nuclear weapons. And that would be a complete disaster. And that there is no way that the Philippines will be somehow exempt from that sort of conflict. And it's very interesting to watch what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. And it's very worrisome, because if there is a possibility that nuclear weapons suddenly become even tactical nuclear weapons, not strategic nuclear, but tactical nuclear weapons,